So the Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice has also released a media statement with regards to the whole saga faced by the police or the security cluster in particular. And part of the statement says South Africa is once again at a crossroads, this time not merely because of revelations of entrenched corruption within our police service and at the nexus of law enforcement and the justice system and politics, but because of how the executive responds when state institutions rot from the inside. The statement also says we must begin by commending the principled and courageous stand taken by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, whose public disclosure of deep-rooted collusion between police leadership, political appointees and organized criminal syndicate has laid bare the crisis at the heart of the security of the state. Then somewhere down the line, the statement says, and yet President Cyril Ramaphosa's response after his silence for a full week is depressingly predictable. A suspended minister, a politically cautious acting appointment, and yet another commission of inquiry. Yes, these moves are largely permissible, but legality is not legitimacy. For a nation battered by scandal fatigue and broken promises, this worn-out script no longer inspires confidence. It provokes outrage. And then at the end of the speech, of the press statement, it says it will be better if he resigns with immediate effect before he causes more harm to the fragile ethical fabric of our nation, as he lately enjoys manipulating the country on behalf of his handlers. What he's doing is a direct spit in the face of our revolutionary forefathers and contrary to the values, ethical paradigm and the hard-earned legacy of Walter and Albertina Sisulu. Once again, the Sisulu Foundation supports the work of General Mkhwanazi. We demand the resignation of the president with immediate effect. That's exactly what they're saying. And the chairman of the Walter and Albertina Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice, Rev Allan Aubrey Boesak, joins us on the line. Thank you so much for your time, Reverend. How are you?
Thank you, PK. Good afternoon to you and your listeners. I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you so much. The foundation is not mincing its words, and you are literally saying that President Cyril Ramaphosa must in fact go. Give us perspective in terms of why you are such forthright in your demand that he should step down.
Well, PK, we are saying in the very beginning, this country has really arrived at a fork in the road. It is time that we make fundamental choices about who we are, what we want to be, what kind of a nation we want to be, and what is the vision that drives us forward. And now what has happened with General Mkhwanazi's amazingly courageous act, putting virtually everything on the line to come up and, as we say in the church, to stand for the truth and to help the nation understand the depths of the rot in the systems that we are facing. We have come to the conclusion that it is not just the police, although they are in the spotlight now. It's not just the security cluster, because we are focusing on them. But what it does is it helps us understand that the rot is systemic, it is deep, it's been going on for a very long time. And if you think about it, it is about the lack of leadership. Is it about the visionlessness of those who are in charge? Mr. Ramaphosa must take fundamental responsibility for this. And since there is so very little faith and trust in what is happening right now, and it's eroding the trust in our democratic project, and our experiment is eroding trust in the fundamental institutions of our society, we have come to the conclusion that we must have a change in leadership. Mr. Ramaphosa must resign, and he will do the country a big service if he does so.
In fact, you remind us in your statement, and you say during his tenure as Minister of Water and Sanitation, Mkhunu dismantled a disciplinary committee tasked with acting on the Auditor General's damning findings of systemic failure in consequence management. The committee had been investigating senior political figures allegedly implicated in forensic reports, but under Mkhunu's watch, the process was halted, ensuring that accountability was once again deferred. This move drew fierce criticism from oversight bodies and reinforced concerns that Mkhunu prioritized political protection over constitutional reform. And I'm raising this issue because, importantly, you are reminding us about another incident which is of serious nature. There was a press conference of the ANC today where the Secretary General actually was informing us that the same Kunu will continue as a member of parliament.
Well, you see, that is what we mean. That Mr. Ramaphosa is using his powers, abusing his powers to cover up political corruption, to refuse to actually act when it is necessary. And he uses this device as a clever, calculated tactic of putting everything on the board and on the plate of a commission of inquiry. Now, we have had commissions of inquiry that is coming out of South Africans' noses by now. And we've had all of these monies that have been spent, billions of rand, and in the end, there was no consequence, there was no prosecution, nobody is in jail. Look at what happened to Chief Justice Zondo's commission, and there were other things like that. So that's the one thing. So we now know that this is a tactic to avoid responsibility and to avoid accountability and to avoid the kind of action that would begin to put the country in the right direction. But Muslim Tunu himself has this pattern. We refer to that because we know that when he became the Minister for Water Affairs, and so there was an investigation committee into fundamental wrongdoing and fraud in at least two areas. And there was this investigation committee came up with a report, and the minister at that point, Muslim Sisulu, decided to follow this up by taking this to the NPA so that there can be prosecutions, so that there can be action taken. What did Mr. Ramaphosa do? He removed her from there, put her to tourism. He put Mr. Nkunu in her place. The first thing Mr. Nkunu does is to close down that investigation, to take all the files and to bury them. It's the same thing that he did with the latest Pala report. You will remember. The first thing he does, he gets the report as Minister of Police, and instead of acting upon it, instead of upholding ethical standards and his responsibility as a minister, he declares this a secret report. It's classified. Nobody must know what is going on there. Now, those are the things that we refer to as a pattern, and it has become systemic, and it has become a way in which South Africa's people are now saying, we have had enough of this. I've heard from the protesters in Durban today, while I was watching quickly, that one of their demands is that President Cyril Ramaphosa should resign with immediate effect. So what the foundation is now doing is we're not just saying something from within ourselves. We are echoing a demand that seems to be growing in the heart of South Africa's people. And if I were Mr. Ramaphosa, I would listen to that instead of listening to the few oligarchs who keep him in power.
I often wonder what people like you react to what we are seeing unfolding in front of our eyes, because some of us were too young during the apartheid era. You were in the fight against apartheid, the brutality of it all. You celebrated the dawn of democracy, and now we seem to have a new struggle in this country, corruption perpetrated by the same people that were your own comrades.
Yes.
How does that even begin to make sense to you guys? It
doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, PK, and it fills me with a deep, deep and abiding sadness. I cannot tell you how tragically I experience this, and I get upset and I get angry, PK, because in my mind I still see those young people. Yeah. I hear them speak of their aspirations and their dreams that they have all put aside and put on the altar to fight for a different future for the generations to come, for what we should have had by now. And I think of the way in which they were willing to sacrifice their own lives. I mean, I went to their funerals. I had to go and wipe the tears of their mothers' faces. And now we have this. So it fills me with a deep, deep sadness and with a deep, deep anger, but it also fills me with a determination that as long as my generation is alive and I am alive, I am determined to make sure that those young lives were not sacrificed in vain.
But what will it take for us to get to a place where we had all hoped for? Do we need a clean slate? to get, I don't know, what will it take, Reverend Boesak?
We now know that what we have had for the last 30 years has been wrong for the country. We should begin all over again. We should have a clean slate. My proposal has always been, it seems to be gathering steam now, that if we can call together our people again in what we call the Progressive People's Assembly, talk about the crisis, not just in general vague terms like this national dialogue agenda that I have seen, but on the real issues that matter. We need a new government. We need a new start. We need some drastic action. We need to disrupt this rotten system, because it's not just the police. It is in every single area of life and in government. Look, General Nkwenazi's allegation is not just about police people. It is about politicians. It's about highly placed parliamentarians. It's about those issues. So it shows us that there is a disruption that is necessary, and we must now, as the people of South Africa, reclaim our responsibility and begin to shape a new future and a coming together of progressive thinking people who have the best for this country at heart. That is what and set up a new agenda, fashion a new vision, and then throw everything we have in it to make it happen. That is the only way that I can see it. But this that we have now, this GNU, with the preponderance of the politicians we have now, that is fundamentally wrong for South Africa and our people. And it does no honor to the struggle that we have led.
There's still fire in that belly, Reverend Boesak. There's still fire in that belly. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for talking to us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
There you go, Reverend Allan Boesak there of the Albertina and Walter Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice.